Hi, Shepherd's Pie, greetings from the Philippines. Welcome back to the channel for a coffee and a chat. Thought I'd tell you a little story today about an old mate of mine called Manny. Although, that's not his real name. Not going to tell you his real name. And I'm going to change it to Manny, and I'm also going to change the city in the UK where he went back to live. Although anyone who watches the channel will be able to work out where it is, because I lived there for 14 years. The heavens have just opened. You can hear the rain falling down. Hopefully it won't be too loud. It's an half rain bloody heavy at the moment. So anyway, look, I'm going to ignore the rain. So yeah, and I'm also going to premise the story with this. I'm changing the name and I'm changing the city. And I'm also going to say, please don't think I am anti marrying Filipinos, relationships, having Filipino girlfriends. I mean, for God's sake, I've got Filipino girlfriends and I'm living in the Philippines. So, or rather, I'm a tourist on holiday in the Philippines. I think the Philippines is a wonderful place. I think Filipinos are wonderful. But the trouble is, I keep getting asked to tell stories. Some of you seem to like them for some reason. And I thought of this one this morning. And it's a negative story, they always seem to, because no one really wants to hear a story with a happy ending, do they? I mean, let's be honest. Although this one, I do think had a happy ending, or has a happy ending. I'll be interested to know what you make of it, because I don't think it's a sad story at all. I think it had the potential to be, but in the end, it all worked out for the best. But I'll let you be the judge of that. And the other reason I'm telling it is because it's a subject I've heard some very strong views on. Because what Manny did was, he brought his girlfriend wife from the Philippines back to her home country. Now, I know a lot of people say that's a no-no. I remember many moons ago, before I moved here, the Filipina P, when I used to watch her channel, she was saying, don't do it. You know, you're Filipino, will think you're wonderful, and she'll be so proud of you, and when she's seen waitresses flirting with you, and she'll get jealous and all the rest of it because she's got such a catch. But then when you go back to your home country and she sees women her age not paying any attention to you and not taking any interest in there with boyfriends her own age, that they will wander, they will go. Now, whether that's true or not, I do not know. That's what she said. Certainly close to what's going to happen in this next story. But I know I've got some expat friends who are in wonderful relationships with Filipinos. I've got some living back in our home county, and a good friend of the channel, been married a long time to a Filipina. They're in the UK now. So I mean, it's horses for courses. There is good and bad in every country. But as I say, I don't have an opinion on whether it's a good idea to bring your Filipino partner back to your home country. I just know a few of the expats over here have told me it's a terrible idea. I'm not planning to do it. You know, it's just when other people, not so long ago, a couple of months ago, an expat was going back to his country and we were in a bar and he was saying he's thinking about looking into getting a visa and that for his girlfriend. And a few guys in the bar were like, no, don't do it. This will happen, you know, she'll just... And I'm like, are you sure? I don't know why it would. I mean, there's not a massive age difference. There was only a 20-year age gap, you know, and he was quite a young 50-year-old. So anyway, he didn't bring her back anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm digressing. I'm going to tell you the story now. Let me know what you think about the concept in the comments, and let me know what you think about the story. Is it a happy ending or not? So anyway, my friend Manny, I've known him a long time. And the beauty of this story is, I can tell you everything he told me was true, because he's as straight as a die. The last couple of stories I've told you, I got them second hand from people I knew in a bar, talking for an hour. So I don't know if they were water mitty, whether they were exaggerating things or not. But I know Manny wasn't, or isn't. He's a straight guy, and what he told me, I believe 100%. And I know because I saw how the situation evolved. But anyway, I've known Manny since I was about 30 years old, so we're going back like 22 years now. And I knew him back in the UK. He was always a traveller, he was always into his dance, an incredible dancer. When I knew him back then, he used to dance in a lot of nightclubs, get paid for it. He spent half the year in Ibiza dancing in clubs there and that. And I knew him off the old rave scene. And because I used to do a lot of raving in my younger days, and I'd always bump into him at different clubs around the country. And we were good friends. He was always a bit of a loner, you know, never really was a womaniser. So didn't see him with many girls. And he wasn't interested in settling down, he just wanted to dance. So he would literally go to a club and he'd dance like a madman. If he was getting paid for it, he'd dance all night. If he wasn't, he'd dance anyway. So we lost touch. I don't know why we lost touch, we just did. I think he went off somewhere. And I ended up getting married. And I was married to my partner, we were together 10 years, and he never met her, so we were separated a long time. And when I went to Thailand, he contacted me out of the blue one day and said, how you doing, mate? So it must have been about 15 years since I'd spoken to him. And he was telling me that he'd been out to the Philippines. And I'd never been to the Philippines at this stage. And he'd met a girl out there. They had a couple of kids, and he was working on bringing them to the UK. And I was like, mate, so I was quite surprised, because the idea that he was married, the idea that he had 2 kids, was not the man I remember. But I thought, fair play, we all grow up, we all settle down at some stage, but never saw it coming with him. But there you go. To be honest with you, in the early days I thought he was gay. I was convinced he was, but now I know he's not, and yeah, he knows I thought he was. You know, I've said that to him before, you know, like when I've seen him, so he's not going to be offended by that. But he was quite effeminate and all the dancing, all the rest of it. But anyway, that's what he told me, and I didn't give it a lot of thought. But we agreed that when I came back to the UK, I would we'd have a coffee, we'd have a catch up, and we did. 2 or 3 years after that, we had a catch up in. Where did we have a catch up? Where's the place with the crooked spire up north? Not Colville. I think it begins with C. Anyway, it will come to me in a minute. Got the crooked spire, not far from Nottingham. Anyway, we met there. He turned up. He had his daughter with him. Like, nice girl, young. We were talking, and I said, how's the wife and all that? And then he tells me the story, and it was a catastrophe. What happened was, he had gone to Thailand, sorry, not Thailand, he'd gone to the Philippines for 8 months, I think he said. He had a job over there, doing some selling thing, like door to door. I don't know what, I can't remember what he was doing. The thing about Manny is he didn't have any ambition in terms of career-wise. His life revolved, he was carefree, shall we say. So he would take strange jobs in strange countries or things to earn a bit of money, just to subsidise his travelling so he could go and do something else somewhere. So I assume it was one of these jobs. But he met this girl, and he showed me pictures of her before, and she was very dark. To be honest, when I first saw her picture on Facebook, I thought she was Indian. She looked Indian. I'll tell you why this matters in a minute. Didn't look Filipino, looked Indian, but there you go. So he had been there for 8 months. He'd met a girl, she got pregnant, he'd come back to the UK. And they had had an LDR, a long distance relationship. And for a couple of years, he had popped back for a couple of months each year to see her. And during that period, she had got pregnant again. So they had 2 kids now at this stage, a girl and a boy. The boy was first, the girl was afterwards. So they had decided that the thing to do would be to get married, and she would come and live in the UK. So Manny didn't have the financial requirements to do it at this stage. So he had to come back again to work in the UK to get enough money together to be able to bring her and the kids over after they had been married. Now, I can't remember what the requirements are. I think, don't quote me on this, I think you've got to have earned £18,000, a minimum of £18,000 in the 12 months prior to her coming over with the kids. And there is some other financial requirements you've got to fulfill. I don't know what they are. It's not the point of the story. All I tell you is he was not earning much money. He was working as a waiter in a restaurant, so he was getting some tips and that, but it was not a high-paying job. So it was a struggle for him to get the cash together. But fair play to him, he did it. She moved over. They lived with the parents for a little while. And then they got a council house in Nottingham, we're going to say. Wasn't Nottingham. It's a different city, very close to Nottingham. I still can't remember where the Crooked Spire was. Chesterfield. Chesterfield. I met him for a coffee in Chesterfield. There we go. So, I lost my train of thought now. Why did I keep thinking about Chesterfield? What an idiot. So yeah, he brought her over. Initially they stayed with his parents for a little bit in their council house, and then they moved into another council house. Now this is one of the things about Dan, as I say, Manny didn't have a lot of money, and he wasn't career minded. So if she was a gold digger, my God, she chose the wrong guy, because she'd have been better off holding out for someone who actually had a house and things, so she could try and get some of their property. But anyway, she ended up with him. Brought the 2 kids over, they ended up in the council house. Now I do not know how long this had to go on for, but the trouble was, when she got there, she moved straight into a clique of Filipinas who were living in this city. I say we're going to call it Nottingham. And there was a little community of them, which is news to me. I didn't know they had a Filipino community there, but she did, and she got in with them. Now he suspects, whether this is true or not, I do not know, because it's assuming that this circle of Filipinos turned her against him, as opposed to probably the more upsetting concept that she was never interested and she came over here with the intention of screwing him from day one. Which one's right, I do not know. I never met her, as I say. But she got him in this little clique. She spent a lot of time with him. She wasn't associating with English people. She was just spending all her social time out with these Filipinos. And he reckons they filled her with all these ideas about what her rights were in terms of how long she had to be in the country before she was entitled to accommodation and free healthcare and everything for the kids, etc, etc, etc. Now, again, don't quote me on this. It's not important whether I've got the dates or whatever right. But basically, bang smack, the week she had been here long enough to be able to stay long-term independently, she gave him his marching orders. I think it was 2 years, but I might be wrong. But she basically said to him, I don't love you, I want you to get out of the house, we're finished, I want a divorce. Which came as a big shock to him. But he wanted to make the relationship work and he wanted to salvage it. So he agreed to it on the basis he thought if he went back, moved in with his parents for a little while, he could sort things out and then get back together again. But she was not having any of it. She was determined it was over, that was it. She wanted a divorce, she wanted nothing to do with him. There was nothing he could do to persuade her otherwise. Now, I'm going to take Danny's side in this because I know him. He's a great guy. You know, he wouldn't be unfaithful. He doesn't drink alcohol. He's not a wife beater and all that kind of stuff. So it's possible they fell out of love. It is not possible that he was being abusive or anything like that, and that's what forced her to do it. You know what I mean? So whatever happened, that was that. So he agreed to the divorce on the basis that he wanted to have access to the kids. Now, it was at this point she hit him with, they're not your kids. Now what's that about? And Danny wasn't having any of it. He was convinced they were his kids. And that was where we were at the point when I met him for coffee in Chesterfield. Because he had the daughter there, not the son, and she wasn't very well. She threw up all over McDonald's, I'll never forget that. Wasn't a nice thing to see, but there you go. Travel sickness, he reckon, driving her up from Nottingham. So I'm looking at him, and I said, are we all right to talk about this with the kid? And he said, yeah, don't worry about it, because she had like an iPad or something. She was playing away, she had her Happy Meal, she didn't care what we were talking about. Because I'm thinking, should we really be talking about it anyway? And there was music in the place, she wasn't interested in what we were saying. I said, like, so do you think you are their kids? They are your kids. Because I hadn't seen the son, I know he was older, I only saw the daughter that was with us. And he's like, yeah, I'm sure they are, I'm sure they are. And I'm looking, and I'm thinking, she's very dark. But, as I said to you, the mother was very dark. I thought the mother was Indian in the picture, you know, and I mean, Manny's quite fair, he's ginger haired, and this kid was very dark, but you know, genes skip generations, etc., you know, so yeah, if he thinks it's his kid. There wasn't any resemblance though, but I mean, there isn't always a resemblance, you don't know, so I'm like, fine. So I said, what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to fight her for it. I'm going to insist on DNA, and once I prove they're mine, then she'll have to give me visitation rights, or I might go for the whole custody. So anyway, this rumbled on for months, and it got very nasty at this stage. And I saw Danny a few times. I think I saw him once more in person. The other times I spoke to him on, Skype or on Facebook. You know, the old video, was it called FaceTime? And it had turned very nasty. She, I think she was getting her legal representation through. I'm not sure on that. But he was having to pay for it. I think some charity was paying for it. God knows what she told him about him. But he was having to pay for it. It was costing him a lot of money. But he wasn't letting it go. And he had forced her into doing the DNA test somehow. And they had come back. And wham bam, they weren't his kids. They were not his children. She hadn't been lying. She'd been lying that they were his kids, but she hadn't been lying when she said they weren't and he wasn't entitled to custody or visitation. But this did not stop Daddy. He was completely undaunted. As far as he was concerned, he had raised those kids or been involved in those kids' life from the moment they were born up until this point, which we're talking a fair few years now. I don't know to be sure, but it's got to have been 7, 8, 9 years, something like that, at this stage. And he was determined they were his. Not that they were his, that to him they were his. His bond was as close as anyone would have with a natural child. So he wanted to he wanted to have custody or visitation, shall we say. And he got it. He got it. Now, it took a bit of legal wangling, but in the end, she said she was happy for him to have visitation rights. Now, obviously, probably the reason why she was happy to have visitation rights, because by insisting that they were his kids and he had visitation rights, he had to pay support to her. So I imagine that's why she folded. Now, she has a boyfriend now. They live together. But Manny sees the kids regularly. I don't know if it's like a day a week or whatever, or a couple of days a month. But he's always on Facebook with the kids, taking them out. He's like going to the zoo and things. He takes them on holidays. And he is happy as Larry. Now, this is why I say to you, is it a sad ending? Because it seems to me that all the parties got what they were looking for in this one. Now, it's a dangerous game to play, because had he had more in terms of assets in the UK, had he had a house, etc., pensions, savings or whatever, then he could have been vulnerable to her, big time. Not to the old 50% mark. You know, a lot of people say you're going to lose 50%. I don't think you do. Not to lose the whole 50%, you've got to have been together a number of years. You've got to prove that people, if you don't, you wouldn't, I don't think a judge in that situation who saw someone come into the country 2 years leaving, not their kids, the DNA or whatever, there's no way I could see that they got 50%. But the point is, she didn't get an awful lot because he didn't have an awful lot. If he had it done, then you could have said this is a truly terrible story. But he got what he had always wanted, it would seem, his kids. As I said to you, I don't think he was a relationship kind of guy. That's not what makes him tick. He's really into his running now. He runs races all around Europe. I think he works in a supermarket now. He was never a money guy. He was always interested in the experience, in travelling, and fair play to him. So it would always have been hard for him, really, to get a relationship and settle down and have kids without giving up what he liked to do. So this way, I guess he's got the best of both worlds. He can still carry on being Manny for however long he wants to, but he's got children that he's got a bond with, that he can, you know, spend time with. So, you know, it's a win-win as far as I can see. I know he's happy. It's better than being stuck with her, because she clearly wasn't the one for him. So, I don't know. It's a strange story. It's one of those, you know, listen, I will not cast judgments on anyone. You know, I think he's done the right thing. I'm not interested in people who are going to say things in the comments like he's this and that, and they would never, you know, he did what he did. It has worked for him. As far as I'm concerned, fair play to him. Would it work for me? Would I do what he did in that situation? I think it's damn unlikely. I would be amazed. I mean, I'm not one for children. I don't have any children. I have been in long-term relationships with people who had children. Once the relationship ended, that ended the relationship with the kids. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, the daughter of one of the girlfriends I had in Thailand, I still like. I message her on her birthday and that Facebook and that. You know, she'll, you know, like a picture of mine that once in a while. But, you know, I never thought, you know, right, it's over, I'm going to try and get custody of her and we're going to do this and that. But I guess it's different, because I never thought she was mine. I knew she wasn't. I mean, they were together when, you know, she already existed and was like, you know, 11 years old when I got with her mother. So, you know, had I thought they were my kids and been raising them as my kids and, you know, been to the birth, I'm not sure what was at the birth or not, but I'm saying that I don't know, I suppose that really is a real mindfuck. I mean, that's going to make you wonder, you know, but anyway, he did what he did. Would most men have done the same? I don't know, I doubt it, because a lot of men run off, you know, don't even look after their natural kids, do they? You know, which is always a shitty thing to do, but, you know, people do that. My dad was one of them. So there you go. What lessons have you learned from this story? I don't think you can learn any lessons, really, as I say. I mean, I said my dad was an arsehole. You know, I haven't seen him in like decades. You know, and he was British. So, you know, the fact that she was Filipino and she did what she did, does that mean that, you know, it doesn't mean they're all bad, does it? It's a fantastic Filipinos. You know, it's good and bad in every country. And I'm not going to keep telling stories about, you know, bad stories where the Filipinos, the nasty one, and the, you know, the British guy or the Western guy is totally innocent to blame, because life doesn't work like that. I know some relationships in Thailand and the Philippines which have gone tits up, where it's been the Western guy's fault. I know some now, when I look at them together, and I think the best thing she could do is tell him to piss off, because he treats her like crap. I mean, you see it all the time, you know, that it's just the way it is. But a lot of Filipinos, a lot of times, they stick with their partners regardless, you know. So, I mean, I'm not making any judgments on that, but it does seem to be a thing to a lot of people, rightly or wrongly, that it's risky to bring your partner back to your home country. I would suggest, being logical, it's only risky if you pick the wrong partner. And personally, I think I'd like to know, you know, if I've been with someone 5 years and I'm planning to spend the rest of my life with them, and I'm not sure enough about taking them back to my home country because I don't trust them, then I'd have to question myself, why am I with them? Because if I don't trust them enough to bring them back to my home country, why do I want to be with them for the rest of my life? But having said that, I would never take anyone back to my home country. Well, I don't intend to, because I don't want to go back to my home country. You know, I really don't want to live in the UK again. Nothing against the UK, I love the UK. But, you know, my UK days are done as far as I'm concerned. I'll go back there for visits. I might go back there for business, but I might even go back there to work for a few months in the future. But never to live for an extended period of time. No, not for me. I mean, you can never say never. What happens if something happens to a family member or whatever? But it's never my intention to stay there long term, so I can't ever see a situation where I would be going for the rigmarole of bringing a partner from another country there. But anyway, it's enough about me. That's the story. Starting to rain again. Don't know if you could hear that. Sometimes it gets very heavy on the old roof, so it can be deafening. So now is the time to bring this story to an end. Love to know what you think about the concept of bringing someone back to your country, what you think about Danny's story, anything you want to add in the comments. I'm interested to hear, within reason, don't be offensive. If you like the story, smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, you would make an old man very happy. I'm approaching the 1 year mark. I really want to get 4,000 subscribers by the 1 year stage. So I'll be very happy if you subscribe. Do me that small favour. Don't cost you anything. Whatever you're doing, whether you do, whether you don't, wherever you are, stay safe, be lucky.